Hello, I'm Sheryl McCarthy. Welcome to One to One. Love is a theme of many novels. Lustful love, torturous love, unrequited love, love gone bad, the rituals of comfortable married love, lost love. André Aciman writes about love as well, about sudden all-encompassing love, which once lost haunts the rest of one's life. His previous novel, Call Me By Your Name, is about the passionate affair between 17-year-old Elio and Oliver, the 24-year-old American graduate student who comes to live with Elio's family in Italy one summer. And it's familiar to many of us partly because it was made into a successful movie. In Find Me, Aciman, Distinguished Professor of Comparative Literature at the CUNY Graduate Center, picks up on these characters' lives 20 years later. It's published by Farrar, Straus, and Giroux. Welcome.
Thank you.
Find Me is a sequel to the story of Elio and Oliver. Why did you decide to write a sequel?
First of all, I don't like the word sequel. It's a word that has been used, and I've used it myself, until I realized that it's really not a sequel. It's more like inspired by. It's a series of events that happen to the lives of various characters associated with the novel. And I was always going to write what is a follow-up or a sequel to the novel, but then I decided that it wasn't going to work. And I did try a few times, many years ago, after the publication of the book in 2007. And failing that, I went and wrote other books. Then I realized that I wanted to write about the father, particularly about the father. And I like the father. I think everybody loves that father. And I wanted to see, how does he live his life? Let us say that he's alone again. He's not young anymore, and he doesn't have a wife, and he is on a train. What happens? How does he handle himself? I was fascinated.
So the book focuses on two relationships. The relationship between Elio's father, Samuel, now in his 50s?
Yes, let's
say. And Miranda, the beautiful young woman in her 20s who he meets on a train on his way to Rome. And it also focuses on Elio's relationship with Michel.
That's right.
A much older man he meets at a chamber music concert in Paris. One of the themes in the book, I know you don't like to talk about themes, but one of the themes in the book seems to be about people who meet and experience an instant intimacy and all-encompassing love. They recognize instantly that this is the person they've always been looking for. Are we talking about what some people would call love at first sight, or are we talking about something different?
It is love at first sight, and I think that there's a sentence that you see in many, or that you hear in many films, "I'm in love with you, but you don't know me," says the other person. I think that's totally hogwash. I think that as soon as you meet someone that really matters, you know it instantly. And the beauty of this is that they know it too. And I believe in that. In other words, it's an attraction, but it's also a sense of total intimacy that opens up between two individuals. It may not last, but for the time that it lasts, it's very powerful, very magnetic, and it's compelling.
You suggest that finding this kind of love is a matter of timing, of meeting that person at just the right time. Otherwise, it doesn't happen.
It could be the same exact person that you meet in a different venue, and it won't happen. And it has nothing to do with meeting somebody on a train, because on a train you want to read and be left alone, or whatever. Or it could be somebody at a concert, and you don't want really to have an engaging conversation. But something happens in that scene or in that moment that wants to be explored and sort of excavated. And you go with it. Some people say, "Nah, I better not. I'm not going to give them my phone number. Better not." Other people say, "Why not?" And I'm dealing with characters who say, "Why not?"
And you know people this has happened to?
Yes, of course.
Okay. Each of these love affairs is between a very beautiful young person and a much older person. You seem to suggest that great beauty is essential to a great love. I mean, can one have an instant, all-encompassing love with somebody of ordinary looks?
Maybe. But then you can find total intimacy and total attraction with somebody who is not good looking at all, but has a particular kind of energy. The energy is what you want. And I've always responded to the energy in someone. It is not their physical beauty, but there is something about young energy that a person who is older loves, and there is something about the energy of an older person that's not necessarily placated. It's still there, but it comes with a form of wisdom that young people just adore. And so, and I don't believe in conventional affairs, in conventional love. I don't think it exists in real life, but in art it has no business. I'm more interested in the unconventional, in the unfettered, in the sense that I don't know where this is going, because nobody's ever traveled this road before, as far as I know, and I want to go with it. I want to see where it ends. And maybe it ends, maybe it doesn't end. You don't know. And I think it all takes, it takes a lot of courage to be in love with someone. And I think,
Interesting. Why do you say that?
because, in other words, to be in love, you can say, well, I was just carried away by whatever it is that I felt at the moment. Yes, you can be carried away, but it needs, in other words, to be in love with someone, completely in love, you need to have the guts for that. It's not something that requires no effort or no prudence or no anything. You need to have a lot of will. It's a question of will as well.
Okay. Commitment. Is that a good word?
Yes,
Okay.
if it lasts.
Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah.
But it takes a form of sort of, you have to be compelled by something inside of you, but at the same time, it has to override all the inhibitions that you put in its way.
Was it a help or a hindrance in writing the sequel to Call Me By Your Name that everyone has a picture of what Oliver and Elio
God.
look like? And I mean, one thing that struck me about the movie is that Timothy, is it Chalamet or Chalamet?
Chalamet.
Chalamet is so gorgeous, and Arnie Hammer is so gorgeous. Was that a help or hindrance in writing the second book?
No, I wasn't thinking of
Yeah.
the film. I mean, I should have maybe, but I couldn't. As you're writing, you're seeing them. First of all, I don't see very well when it comes to my imagination. So I never decided whether, Elio was blonde or dark-haired. I didn't know if he was hairy or not hairy. I mean, that was a thing that I couldn't even decide, and I couldn't even see it. So, but after the movie, when I wrote the book, I couldn't even imagine Armie Hammer or Oliver at the age of 44. I couldn't imagine him. So I had to just blank out, not decide how they look. I never describe what characters look like anyway, because I don't see them.
Okay. When Samuel, Elio's father, meets Miranda, he realizes he wants to connect. After being with her, he realizes that he's trying to connect with the young man that he was when he was a student in Rome many years before, when he was a graduate student, even though he wasn't very happy then.
No.
What is it about youth that we long for it, even though we were miserable at the time and are probably happier now?
We're probably happier now, but basically youth belongs, in my case, it belongs to the past. And therefore it's something that you automatically sort of beautify, you exalt it, because you don't have it any longer. But in fact, my youth, the years that I spent in Cambridge, Massachusetts, were absolutely miserable. And any occasion I have to go back to Cambridge, Massachusetts, I will go right away, because I'm trying to recover what it was like to be back there. And then after a day, I say, okay, I can't wait to leave.
Because now I remember how miserable I was
Yes.
when I was...
Eventually, when I plug into the person I was back then and how unhappy I was, and in retrospect, I can also sort of magnify this unhappiness, just as I can twist it around and tilt it and make it look beautiful as well. But fundamentally, it's over. Thank God.
Another theme of the book is how lost loves haunt us throughout our lives.
I always say this. There is something that we call regret. And you have remorse, which is guilt, and these are the things you've done and you wish you'd never done. But regrets are the things you've never done. And the lost loves are loves that actually shouldn't have died, but life decided otherwise. And those are the ones that never go away. They never will go away. My first love of the age of 12, 13, I can still feel it. Do I want to meet this person again? Absolutely not. But it's there.
You have said in interviews that your writing was forever impacted by your mother. Tell me about that.
My mother was as you probably know, she was deaf. She was completely, totally deaf. She had always been deaf. But she had made up for her deafness by having cultivated or developed this sense of intuition, which was fantastic. She could tell anything about people just by looking at them. She was also a great mimic, which helps a lot a writer to mimic the characters. But in essence, I've always been interested in what goes on into someone's mind as they're talking to me. And who are they really? Can they hurt me? Can they not? Can they help me? Will they love me? Will they not? Etc. And my mother had instant answers for this. And when you grow up with someone like this, you develop the same skill, just as I know how to lip read because of my mother. But at the same time, I have this sense of intuition, and I use it in my writing all the time. Intuition about people and what they really feel. And in fact, when I wrote Call Me By Your Name, one of the things that people always say to me is, you wrote my life. I don't know you from Adam, so how could I have written your life? What I did do is I just intuited all these things that could go into a character's soul, psyche, whatever, and thanks to my mother.
You started out in Egypt, then you lived in Rome,
Right.
and then you came to New York. What brought you to New York? Your family? Or
I was accepted at school.
Okay.
I was accepted at Lehman College, and I wanted to come to New York because I didn't want to go to university. This was 1968. There had been two revolutions, one in Paris and one in Rome, and I didn't want to have anything to do with them. Plus, they were going to send me back by 2 years if I wanted to go to a French university. So I said, no, I want to go to an American university. Luckily, I applied to Lehman College. I applied to all the colleges. They all rejected me.
Really?
Well, they had to because I was probably the only foreign student that they could take, and other foreign students had been taken. So Lehman accepted me, and I went to Lehman for 4 years. It was absolutely wonderful. I was treated like royalty, and I still do things for Lehman anytime they ask.
You suggest that it sort of changed your life? Or
Yes, it did.
How so?
It did. Well, first of all, I had never felt at home in Egypt. That was not going to be my home, that was clear. I did not feel at home in Italy nor in France. Although I love France and I love Italy as very much, but I don't belong. Whereas as soon as I came to New York, within the space of a few weeks, I had a job, a full-time job, because I was too early. I came too late for college, so I had a job at Lincoln Center. I spoke to all the directors at Lincoln Center, including Bernstein. I mean, I just suddenly blossomed in a world that could never have existed anywhere else.
And tuition was how much?
Oh God, $30 per semester.
There you go.
And people complained when it increased to 40.
We're going to take a short break, then I'll be back with André Aciman, Distinguished Professor of Comparative Literature at the CUNY Graduate Center and author of Find Me. Welcome back to One to One. I'm Sheryl McCarthy, and I'm talking with André Aciman, author of Find Me. You teach comparative literature, specializing in the 17th century, and you're an expert on Proust. Why the 17th century, and what is it about Proust who fit that?
Well, the 17th century is very simple. There was a very attractive girl in college who was taking Renaissance courses. So I was always taking Renaissance courses. That was the fundamental reason. Then I went to Harvard and I realized that the Renaissance wasn't that interesting to me. I preferred the 17th century, which was far more complicated. And I liked that because it reflected some of my brain work, as it were. And I did that. And I wrote my dissertation on a 17th century woman writer. I've always been in love with Proust. I'm not an expert on Proust. People say I'm an expert on Proust. I'm not. I'm just a person who writes on Proust occasionally. I've reviewed many books about Proust, and I teach Proust for a seminar here at the Graduate Center. I love both. I love the 17th century and Proust, and I think they belong to each other in many ways because, again, they are interested in how the mind works, particularly when it's wrong about very basic facts. And therefore, catching somebody being mistaken and reading the world in a mistaken manner has always fascinated me. And watching writers develop an aesthetic on why is it that people do not see what's going on in front of them is fascinating to me.
I remember trying to work through a love of Swan in French.
Yeah. Oh.
It was very difficult. I probably missed a lot of the story. I was an English major in college and in graduate school. And what one does in English classes is analyze works of literature. I mean, I remember freshman year, the theme of courtly love in the writing of so-and-so, or the use of the nude female body in the writings of so-and-so, which to a lot of people can seem rather anal. What is the point? What is the value of literary criticism, in your view?
It depends what you mean by literary criticism. If it's the kind that goes on today, many times it is so jargon-filled and so sort of umbilical reading that it misses the point, because what you have to decide is not necessarily, and this is a judgment on my part, it's not necessarily whether an author is interesting, which is a good point to start, or addresses interesting values, but whether an author is a good author, a good writer. And that's where I start, because I always look for good authors. I'm not interested in authors who deal with fundamental issues of our times, but are not really very good writers. So eventually what I look for it in the first page. I look for style. If I sense that this person knows his or her style and is quite adept at it, then I want to read more. If I find that this is just, about a family gone wrong and the prose is short and snippy and so on, not reading it.
I spent a year at Harvard on a fellowship where I took a very popular course by psychologist Robert Coles, and the course was called The Literature of Social Reflection, which was about reading great works of literature in order from which you could take lessons about how to live one's life. Do you do any of that in your classes, or something very different?
I will spend maybe 2 hours on a page, not because of the issues that are there, but how is this page written? What is it that it's doing? How do you learn? Because basically, a graduate student has to know how to read. If you don't know how to read, and I mean read deeply and understand how things are put together, what is this comma doing there? It sounds totally anal if you want, but a comma can change the meaning of a sentence. And a comma, when it's done well, is beautiful. And you want to inject in a student's mind what is it that is so stunningly beautiful about a sentence and about a work of literature. And it has to be about beauty. It has to be about the worth of the text. It's totally subjective, so we're not dealing with the science here. But I want people to learn how to read and how to pick up what is absolutely a masterpiece. Why is some things masterpieces and some others are just not? They'll never be.
I was reading an article in which you talk about, I think for the Times, and you talk about the importance of beauty and what it does for us.
Yes. Oh, beauty is very important. There's a wonderful sentence by Susan Sontag when she's basically quarreling about beauty and interesting, and she says, you look at the sunset in the evening, and you look at it, and you will never say, this is an interesting sunset. All you can say is, this is beautiful, and I have nothing else to say. And this is where the work of a teacher, of a critic begins. Once you've confronted the fact that you have nothing else that you can say, but there's plenty of it to be said. And a lot of it has to do with who you are as a person. How are you going to excavate this and bring it out so that other people can say, yes, that's true about me too, but I would never have thought of it.
And it's that beauty sparks some kind of feeling in us. Is that it?
It is a feeling, but it's also, as Joyce would have said, it's also a combination of the luminous, the order of things. How is it organized? If you look at Ulysses, it's a whole, or Dante, it's all about organization. But that's not all it is, because the fundamental thing is that these are great, great writers. They can say in 5, 10 words what might take another author about 3 pages.
You teach critical theory and founded the certificate program in critical theory,
Right.
which I understand is now the most popular certificate program at the Graduate Center. What is critical theory?
It's complicated, but at the same time, I know that our students would be helped if they had a very deep knowledge of what critical theory is. In other words, how do you bring in structuralism, post-structuralism, deconstruction, semiotics, anthropology, psychology, and phenomenology? All these are disciplines that are not fundamentally literary, but can be invoked in literature. And what they do is they make our students more successful. They can use literary theory or critical theory in their work, but they can also teach it. And many departments around the country want people to come already prepared to teach, and that's what we did.
And that's what a certificate in
Yes.
critical theory does for them.
It gives you an added sort of what you might call an added valuation.
How did readers react to Call Me By Your Name, and how are they reacting to Find Me?
The reaction to Call Me By Your Name, especially after the film. I mean, the book was always successful. It had done very well, but a film just launches it in a stratospheric area. And it has done very well. And people respond to it, to Call Me By Your Name, by saying many things. This is me when I was growing up, and you've written my life, as I said, they've said. A lot of people say, this is the person, or this is the love that I'm looking forward to when I grow up and become older. A lot of people will say that. And then you have people who are in their 80s, sometimes even 90s, who write to me, and they don't send emails, they write by longhand, and they send me the most touching and beautiful letters because they say, I wish I could have had a conversation like the one in the book with my father. In other words, I wish I could have come out to my parents.
Right.
Find Me, a lot of people say it's equally as moving, but it doesn't have, a lot of people expect to see a sequel to what happened to Elio and Oliver years later. Something does happen to them, so that's not unusual. But I didn't want to focus on that because I would be rewriting the same book. I was interested in what happens to Elio when he's in his early 30s. Whom does he meet? I was interested certainly in the father who meets a young woman, and I was interested in what happens to Oliver now that he's in his early 40s and is beginning to get a sense that he's older, that he's not as attractive as he used to be. Things are not that easy for him, and he's beginning to long for a sort of a return to the past.
And the relationship with Elio,
Yes.
which was his great love.
It was his great love.
Because he's opted for
marriage.
marriage,
Yes.
right.
He decided to get married, has children. The children are in school. The wife and he don't really get along. If they get along, it's just sort of a kind of habitual domestic relationship. And he wants passion again. And so he's going to, I don't want to give it away, but
Right.
He'll take a journey.
Right. It's sort of like, it reminds me of the book Maurice, I think.
Morris, yes.
And
Yes.
one stays true to his nature and
The other one gets married.
the other one doesn't.
That's right.
Another theme in Find Me seems to be not just lost love, but loss in general.
Yes.
I mean, I'm particularly, conscious in the last chapter that Samuel, Elio's father, has died.
Yes.
That he's gone. But tell me about that.
Well, loss has been something that I've grown up with. I didn't lose my parents until they were very, very old, so I was lucky that much. But losing everything that we had in Egypt, the life that we had, has been a marker. In other words, you never recover from that. And you live in exile from a place that was never really your home to begin with, but you feel the loss nonetheless. And so that's why also I relate to Marcel Proust, because it's all about what it is that has been lost and can never be recovered except on paper. And when you're a writer, that's the area you go to salvage things. But loss is important, and I see it in Sammy when he's getting old and he feels that, okay, my life is over. I'm not dead, but I could still respond to love, but I'm not going to seek it. And she forces him to wake up to love, and so he's risking something by going with her, but he does. At the same time, you have a lot of people who are in their senior moments in life who feel that a lot has happened in the past, and life still opens up certain opportunities which they can decide to take or not. And there's a wonderful moment where Michelle will tell Elio, will tell him, I know I'm not the person for you. I know I'm going to lose you, but please give me another season. And so these are people who are already acquainted with, have experienced loss, are not looking forward to it, but know how to live with it.
And that's great when it comes along.
Loss?
No.
Oh, the love. Oh my gosh.
Second or third chance, yes, when love comes along.
Yes,
again.
I know. But I mean, my father died at the age of 93, and I think he always was looking forward to the next one.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm afraid we're out of time. I'd like to thank André Aciman, Distinguished Professor of Comparative Literature at the CUNY Graduate Center and the author of Find Me, for joining me today. Find Me, which is published by Farrar, Straus, and Giroux, is available online and in bookstores. For the City University of New York and One to One, I'm Sheryl McCarthy.
Thank you, Sheryl.
Thank you. That was fun.